And welcome back to the Financially Simple Experience. I'm your host, Justin Goodbread, and today, let's reminisce. 2020. It's almost in the rearview mirror. As you listen to this podcast, we only have about a week and a half or so left of 2020. I don't know about you, but 2020 has been the year of the apocalypse. It's been pretty amazing to watch what all the ebbs and flows, the shakes and turns of our country, our world, our businesses, etc. I don't think I've ever experienced a year like 2020 in its totality. I mean, I've dealt with a lot of heartache at various times. I had a season of life that went for years to where a lot of different things kind of compounded on Emily and I. We dealt with a lawsuit. We had several miscarriages with a baby. We had immediate family members pass away unexpectedly. Some committed suicide. Dealt with a lot of heartache over like an extended period. But 2020 has just been weird. It's just been weird. I've made a little levity about the tiger loose in Knoxville and the airplane landing on the interstate here in Knoxville. But 2020, I got to thinking as I spent some time out and looking at what I learned in 2020, and then what can I learn, what can I take away from 2020 and apply to my business in 2021. So I came up with several different things. I ended up with 11 different things that I've learned personally from 2020. I wanted to share this with you and leave you with a little hope. I often feel like I hear hopelessness or fear, hopelessness and fear. And friends, that is the opposite of what we should be experiencing. Now, I'm not trying to slight or belittle what we've experienced. I mean, I know several people who've had loved ones that died from COVID. I know several businesses that are no longer in existence, and families' dreams have been dashed against the rocks, so to speak, from 2020. I don't want to make light. I don't want to make light of the hardship that so many have experienced. But I want to add some perspective. I remember I did a podcast with Scott Cagle, the pastor of North Star Church here in Knoxville, and he talked about perspective. This is long before we even knew the magnitude or the severity or the lack thereof, and some people might believe, of COVID. And I want to add a little perspective now as we wrap this year up. So I've got 11 things that I personally have written down that I think are magnificent enough or monumental enough that I wanted to take note of these. So number one, people matter. People do business with those who they know, they like, and they trust. It's a statement that's been around the business world. We don't want to just hand our funds, our resources, or our time to a faceless corporation somewhere. That's not how we, especially in the small business world, acts. That's not how we want to work. We do business with those whom we know and trust. People matter. I got a confession. I'm a bit of an introvert. Those of you who truly know me know this to be the case. Yes, I can speak into a microphone. I can get in front of a stage of thousands and have the time of my life. But you ask me to network or go out and talk to somebody cold turkey, I can do it, but it drains me. I have to have time to recover. I'm a bit of an introvert. But I've learned this year that people are people. You said, Justin, duh. No, we all deal with life. We deal with it differently. We have different makeups. We have different strengths and weaknesses. We've talked about the DISC theorem at Possible. We've talked about the 16 personalities. We've talked about this thing, but at the end of the day, we're united. We're people. And what's going to be the solution is people. People make up our businesses. People are our customers. People are our clients. People are our employees, our team members. People matter. People matter. All lives matter. People matter. So number one, that's been a takeaway is people matter. I used to hear I heard somebody one time say, use people to collect things. I don't think that's the case. We're to love people and use things. People matter. Number one. Number two, trust is the cornerstone of a business, period. No questions asked. Trust. Ernest Hemingway said, the best way to find out if you can trust someone is to trust them. As you give trust, you find out whether they are trustworthy. Ronald Reagan said, trust but verified. I love that. I've said that statement many times on the 4, 5, 6 years as I've written and talked on the podcast. Arthur Ashe said, trust has to be earned and should come only after the passage of time. Trust. Trust is the cornerstone of our business. We have to earn the trust of our team members. We have to earn the trust of our customers. We have to earn the trust of our vendors. We have to earn trust. Albert Einstein said, whomever is careless with the trust in small matters cannot be trusted with important matters. Trust. I've heard more people tell me this year, I trust you. I trust you. I've actually said to people, you have to trust me during this time. Trust is the cornerstone of business. As we go into 2021, we can build on trust. As Albert Einstein clearly stated, trust is in small matters. If you can't be trusted in the small things, then what good is it in the bigger details? We were just doing an assessment. My team does an assessment of me, and I had several colleagues just bounce some ideas, and I said, one of the things that I'm guilty of is I take on so many things that my word, which is my bond. If you know anything about me, you know what I say. I firmly try to do. It's one of those things that my father said, son, you're a good bread. If you give a man a word, he holds to that. I feel like this year I've not done that. And so I'm committing to my team and our customers that in 2021, I'm going to foster and build and strengthen trust because it's the cornerstone of our business. The third thing I've learned this year is you got to be authentic. Life happens to all of us. It happens to us differently, but you got to be authentic. You got to be who you are. This is me. You hear me on the podcast every week. You hear sometimes when I'm just tired. You hear me sometimes when I'm energetic. You hear me sometimes like today when I'm in deep thought, anticipating various things. You hear me. Someone recently said, Justin, I wish you wouldn't talk about religious things that much. So don't use the word God. And I said, I can't do that. That's not who I am. It's not who I am. Someone said, I wish you wouldn't talk about your mother and father. That's not who they were my teachers. They were my heroes in my life. I wish you wouldn't talk about, and I get the litany of things. Talk strictly about these things. Look, I've got to be authentic. I am who I am. And I challenge you to be the same. This year I saw business owners raw. I saw business owners fearful, scared to death. Their business is going to go under. I watched more men. I'm talking about manly men. These are the woodsmen of the world. These are strong, strapping men break down and cry. Weep over their team. How am I going to pay these individuals? This is before what we knew transpired. How am I going to pay them? I care for these people. I care for my customers. How am I going to stay in business so I can support our customers and our vendors? The authenticity that I've seen this year makes me realize that I like it when people are authentic. I like to see the true person. And I want to do more of that coming up. I want to be truly who I am. I often say I could give a flying flip. I say that, but truth be told, all of us really care about what others say. But the more authentic that we are, the more that we attract those who are like us and ultimately those who we want to be around. I want to be more authentic this next year. And I saw that this year more than anything. The fourth thing I saw is that when we operate from a position of gratitude, no matter how life gets, we realize how truly blessed we are when we operate from a position of gratitude. In our businesses, when's the last time you said, man, I'm grateful for this? Gilbert Chesterton said, I would maintain that thanks are the highest form of thought and that gratitude is happiness doubled by wonder. Happiness doubled by wonder, gratitude. You say, well, Justin, there's not been that much to be grateful for this year. No, come on now. We know how much we are blessed. Look, do you have food to eat today? Then you are truly blessed. Do you have somebody who loves you? Yeah. Yeah, well, business was a little painful this year. Yep, I understand. I get it. Did you go home at the end of the day thinking that you made an improvement and you did all that you could do? Then you are a blessed individual. Robert Brault said, enjoy the little things, for one day you may look back and realize that they were in fact big things. Yeah. Look at the little things we've learned. In fact, I can remember doing a podcast this year saying, remember what it was like before COVID? Remember what it was like when the economy was booming? Go back and think about that. And we, at that point, took things for granted. We took things saying that perhaps we could do better. Let's go get more. I remember sitting in a podcast interviewing somebody, and they said, I got to hear the birds sing. I watched the trees bud. I enjoyed family time once again. To quote the poetic philosopher Willie Nelson, obviously that's a little funny, he said, when I started counting my blessings, my whole life turned around. And I think we've learned that this year, that despite the crumbling of society, despite the angst that we personally have felt, and it's all happened differently for different people. So again, I'm not trying to belittle things, but when we start counting our blessings, man, life just looks a lot better. Life just looks a lot better. It turns your life around. Number 5 is that we should have a disaster plan. Now, you say, Justin, what in the world is a disaster plan? Believe it or not, it's required in our company that we have a disaster plan. It's required by the government. And in the event that something happens, we have a method to which we can carry out through turmoil, through trauma, through disaster. If you've never dealt with a disaster plan for your business, perhaps now is a great time to start 2021 out with what happens if this happens. We're in my disaster plan. If I were in the Rocky Mountains a couple weeks ago and I froze to death, there is a way in which the business can continue. There are processes in place to do that. If COVID happens again and we end up going into a mandatory closure in 2021, unknown, we don't know that at this point, then we have a disaster plan in our place for business. And so I've learned the value of a disaster plan more than anything this year. Number 6 is profitability by department or by income stream or by revenue stream or by SIC, whatever it is that you're counting within your company. Profitability per department, per line item is a requirement. So many times with businesses, we get in, we look at their structure and we see that one segment, one income stream is subsidizing other income streams. But friends, whenever you get into a crunch like we've had this year, that's unacceptable. You can't do that. You have to have profitability by every income stream. Every income stream has to be producing revenue. It has to be. There's no exception to it. No exception to it.
Growing a business's value can be a time-consuming process. Rather than trying to explain every step to your team, have Justin Goodbread come to you. With his engaging style and unparalleled training, Justin presents the process to your team while seeking to align the team to your vision. For more information about training and speaking opportunities, visit financiallysimple.com/work.
Number 7 is cash reserves are more important than cash flow. I have argued till I'm blue in the face that we business owners should have a business emergency fund. Obviously, it's granted that we should have a personal emergency fund. You should have that because you don't know what's going to happen in life. But as businesses, we should have a business emergency fund. And it sounds commonsensical now, if that's even a word. It sounds like, Justin, you're right. We should have that. But I tell you, as early or as recently as February of this year, I was having to manually describe to some business owner why an emergency fund is needed in business. Now, that seems foreign that I'd even having to defend that. If you go back and look at the podcast, Financially Simple, look at the videos on YouTube or even past episodes, you'll see where I speak about emergency funds ad nauseum. In fact, our producers often say, Justin, on another episode on emergency funds, but I constantly have people before COVID say, I've got too much cash. I don't need an emergency fund. I have cash flow. Until you don't. And this year, with the drop of a hat, with an edict of the government, with the mandate from your local jurisdiction, you realize that cash flow stops instantly. It can turn off in a second. And thus, cash reserves are much more important than cash flow. So maybe you don't have cash reserves at this point. Maybe you're like, Justin, we're just trying to recover. We're just trying to build. Well, that brings up this week's sponsor. If you need help, reach out to the team at Heritage.
Heritage Investors takes a holistic approach to wealth management by including all aspects of your financial life, not just your investment portfolio. We address your goals, assets, and liabilities to create strategic plans that drive toward your long-term financial goals. To learn more, visit heritageinvestor.com today.
And so now we're talking about the things that I've learned this year that I'm going to apply personally in 2021. And we've looked at a number of them. Number 8 is scalability. Scalability matters. Now, if you've heard me teach on this, then you may be saying, Justin, I understand what you're at. If you've never heard me speak about scalability, maybe you're a first-time listener or a first-time on the YouTube channel, wherever you're at listening to this, scalability is the ability for the business to accelerate or decelerate rapidly. Agility, flexibility, maybe other words that you could use. We've learned that more than ever. Before COVID, scalability, our mindset was, let's grow. We were constantly looking at acceleration. We're looking at, let's move rapidly. Let's produce more revenue. Let's produce more widgets. Let's produce more throughput within our company. And that's great until you end up having a closure. And now agility and flexibility, deceleration, scaling it down, scaling the business down was just as vital as moving the growth. I don't think I would have ever anticipated that rapid of a deceleration all at one time. The agility that we business owners had to have this year is mesmerizing. I watched it across multiple facets, multiple industries, multiple SIC codes, SIC codes, NEIC codes. I saw just businesses across the board moving rapidly to close or to limit. A scalability plan, the ability to turn on the revenue, turn off the revenue, upsize, downsize. That, my friends, is something that I want to work on even more in 2020 within our business. Number 9 is embrace technology. Now, I'm young enough that I like technology, but I'm also old enough that I can remember not having technology. My kids can't even fathom that. In fact, I run into a problem now to give it the solution to them, and they figure it out. It's amazing how their brains work. They're never going to remember a time in their lives when technology did not exist. I'm 41, 42 soon of age, and I can remember there was a period when technology didn't exist. And prior to COVID, we were innovating or we were moving technology into our company. But all of a sudden, drop of a hat, we had to be virtual. Several companies across our country. I was in a position where in our county, in Knox County, Tennessee, where we became a necessity business because of the world of finance. But yet, we ended up having to toy around. We didn't know exactly how the regulation was going to do, so we sent some people home. Some people stayed social distancing in our office, trying to abide by certain mandates, and they cleared it up. And everybody was trying to do the best they could at that particular point. And we learned that technology was the solution. It created virtual capacity for us to work remotely. But not only that, it also showed inefficiencies of humans, whereas technology could support us. It also showed how technology had flaws. So as I'm looking at 2021, and one of the hard looks I want to look at it in my own company is the technology package. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in technology in our organization, and I want to see what technologies are working, what can be replaced by other innovations that have transpired, and continue to grow in our business. Innovation, I've said that a couple of times. That's my 10th point. We never should stop innovating. We never should stop innovating. I said it thousands of times, I feel like, this year, that I will bet on the American entrepreneur every day of the week. I will. That is who I believe carries the bulwark into the storm. That is who I believe can literally charge hell with a water pistol if we had to. That's the attitudes we have. Thomas Edison said, the value of an idea lies in the using of it. The value of an idea. We business owners get ideas every day. And many times, our ideas are so grand that we don't have the person or the financing in order to carry it out. But we never should stop innovating. Stephen Johnson stated, if you look at history, innovation doesn't come just from giving people incentives. It comes from creating environments where their ideas can connect. And friends, we've had an environment forced upon us this year, outside of our own business doings. And as such, the business owners, which are innovators, moved and shook and shaked and pulled themselves up by the bootstrap, as the old saying says, and we press forward. We press forward. We can never stop innovating. So now as I look into 2021, I'm wondering what parts of our business can be adjusted. What parts are we going to be doing next year that we don't even know about this year? Never stop innovating. And number 11, this will pass. This too shall pass. I've heard my mother say that 1,000 times growing up. Son, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. Recently I've heard throughout this year, the new normal. The new normal. We're in the new normal. I don't agree with this statement. That now we're living in the new normal. I don't agree with it. I refuse to accept that statement and the premise that it's often stated. And you're like, Justin, you've lost your mind. This is the new normal. I disagree. I'm going to make a firm stand now on this podcast that what we've experienced in 2020 is not the new normal. What we've experienced is not. It's an anomaly in time. That's my position. There's an old Chinese proverb which says, when the winds of change blow, some people build walls while others build windmills. There are those of you, and there are those of our friends and family, that this will become their new normal. And thus they're guarding themselves. They're building walls around themselves. Friends, I refuse to it. I'm going to build a windmill. I'm going to take whatever the wind blows at us, and we're going to use it to move forward. I refuse to accept that this is the new normal. George Bernard Shaw, I love reading a lot of what he says. He says, the reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable man. Let me say it again. The reasonable man adapts himself to the world. The unreasonable one persists in trying to adapt the world to himself. Therefore, all progress depends on the unreasonable. And now look, if you're a business owner, you're automatically unreasonable. Look, there is not an MBA who graduates from an institution who tries to learn business. I'm putting air quotes here, like, yeah, true business, which, by the way, they end up being my worst clients trying to untrain an MBA. There's not an MBA out there who would go out and start a business. It doesn't work on paper. So friends, if you're a founder, you started a business, or if you bought a business that is in a startup mode, you're already unreasonable. Okay, you're already unreasonable. I'm reminded of the quote by Alan Kay that says, the best way to predict the future is to create it. I refuse to accept the fact that 2020, what I've lived through this year, what I've seen so many clients and so many people that I've had the honor and opportunity to speak to, I'm talking about thousands of people I've conversed with this year. I refuse to accept that 2020 is the new normal. Nope, I'm not going to do it. What I believe is this. We are designed for what we have been designed for. We are strengthened and tested through challenges for ultimately what we have been created for. 2021 is going to be the best year ever in the life of our companies. It is, if we believe it. The old saying says, if you think you can or think you can't, you're right. Even the scripture speaks about, as a man thinks in his heart, so is he. As you think, so you are. Friends, 2020 is not the new normal. 2020 was an unbelievable proving ground, as a refining fire that pulled all the chaff out of our businesses. It showed us the impurities of our businesses. And now with this refinement, now we can take the remaining pure gold, the remaining purities that we have in our business, and we can morph those and change those and push those in the direction which we intend them to go. 2021 is not going to be a repeat of 2020. It is not the new normal. 2021, if you set out properly, can be the best year of your business, can be the best year of your life, can be the best year of your life. So I refuse to accept the new normal. Instead, I'm of the opinion that we have just learned so much. We've just gone to school. We've been refined. We've been placed into the refiner's fire, into the potter's fire. They're pulling the chaff out of our lives. Our businesses have shown the weakness. Great. What are you going to do about it? 2021, I challenge you, make it the best year of your life. So to me, this is what I've learned this year. I've learned that there's nothing which can prevent me from doing what I've been called to do. How about you? Friends, let's go out and make 2021 the best year ever. That was my thoughts from this year. We made it. We're through it. Instead of making it a great day, let's go out and make it a great year. We're blessed, friends. Take care. This tip is for informational purposes only. Please speak with a competent financial advisor regarding your specific needs. Justin Goodbread is a registered investment advisor with Heritage Investors. Visit heritageinvestor.com, financiallysimple.com for additional information.